up? Welcome back. It is Bones. And in this one, let's go ahead and have a little bit of fun. Now, I have been out of town for a couple of days, came back a couple of days ago, and really excited to get back into making some videos. Now, I do have a lot of stuff lined up that I want to do in the next couple of days, so be interesting to get into that and for you guys to check it out. But I did want to ease myself back in and make a fun little video. Now, this one is going to be about the dynamic duos over the ages. Don't know why I wanted to do this, but I just did. Had a lot of fun with some recent new figures and looking back at some customs and adjustments that I made to different Batmans and Robins. Now, this isn't necessarily a top 10 list or my favorites or anything like that. It's just some pairings of Batman and Robin that I've had a lot of fun with and I think represent the different evolutions that have happened in the comic books. Now, let's go ahead and jump right into it. I recently did the review of the Silver Age Batman. Now, though this version of Batman could be interpreted in different ways, for me it is a really classic, old school, right around the 50s era of the Caped Crusader. Now, you cannot have a vision of Batman during this time without having your Robin, the Boy Wonder. I'm pretty sure Robin is like the very first ever sidekick. Now, of course, companies afterwards, everybody started to have a sidekick, but I think Robin was the original superhero sidekick. And it is fitting for him to be teamed up with one of the greatest comic book characters of all time, Bruce Wayne, the Dark Knight, Batman. Definitely my favorite hero in the DC universe. Now, one thing that separates this Batman out of a lot of the recent ones that I've taken a look at is the wired cloth cape. And although it is a little bit long, I'm looking into finding a way to shorten these capes or to modify them if we want to. I'm going to be looking into doing that here in the near future. But really allows you to do a lot of fun stuff when you're doing figure photography. Now, another reason this video kind of took a while is because I have come to find out I'm not the biggest fan of doing figure photography. I mean, props to everybody, that does it, especially out there on Instagram. Everybody that I see their pics and looks so awesome. And I know they have a lot of fun doing it, but it is quite tedious. The work is definitely an acquired taste if you enjoy doing it. But I've come to find out that I really do not like the setups, switching out the hands if they don't fit in the photo you want to take. I can see where it is enjoyable if you have an idea for one photo, but in this video, I wanted to do different images inspired by the comics, so it took me quite a while to get it all the way that I wanted to. Now, I am using my Robin here with the alternate head. I bought this from Ink Drop Customs. You guys might know him here on YouTube, but he is also on Instagram. And this is just my definitive Boy Wonder head that I've been using, recently. But I do have alternate versions. Of course, I have the original release that has that, creepy little Robin head on there. Gives off a little bit of disturbing vibes, which is why I don't really go to that one that much. Although I do enjoy him, I also have this one that I swapped out the head, and I do have another one that I made with a more energetic head sculpt that I can also use if I want to in different figure photography. Now, another thing is that this Robin can go with many different Batmans. I mean, you can use the Nightfall Batman, the blue or the black version. There's the Hush Batmans. He is definitely made to go with any one of your Batmans to make a great dynamic duo. So that is the first little duo I wanted to take a look at. Now, I'm not going to bring out all the figures. because it was very laborious to do all this work. But I do want to show the last set that I'll show at the end of the video. But after these, we do move on to The Dark Knight Returns, one of my favorite graphic novels or comic stories of all time, mostly being because it is something I read when I was young, so had a big influence on me, taking a darker tone, of course, for comic book superheroes. While if you look back at the Silver Age dynamic duo, that was a more whimsical, fun time, which I can also enjoy. I can enjoy a lot of different interpretations of comic book heroes, going from the grimy, gritty, dark versions, like one of my favorite Batmans of all time, the Grim Knight, and also going into something more out there, like Batman Zero-Nar, which is from a different planet and has a very unique costume. But Dark Knight Returns is just something that always resonated with me. Now, I did recently do a full custom on the blue collector's edition of the Dark Knight Returns Batman. Really had a lot of fun with that, added a lot of articulation, and the thigh pouches that have come to be very representative of this version of the Dark Knight. Now, I also made a black and gray custom version where I repainted one of the alternate heads I did by multiples of that collector's edition Batman. So now I have, two lampposts and alternate heads that I could use. So pretty cool to have a lot more accessories, to have a lot more fun customizing with these McFarlane DC Multiverse figures. So I did make a black and gray one, added the same articulation I did with the blue and gray version, giving it more ab crunch and dexterity when you're posing them. Really able to get better poses for figure photography and represent some of the pages from the comic books. Now, of course, you cannot talk about The Dark Knight Returns without talking about its version of the Robin character, of course, being Carrie Kelly. Now, I have to be honest, when I was younger and I read the story, wasn't a big fan of Carrie Kelly, even through all the different action figure lines that we've seen, DC Direct, even Mattel, never really, a figure I looked at a lot or posed a lot. But for some reason, ever since McFarlane did his version of Carrie Kelly, I really think it's an underrated figure. I mean, it's even very cheap on the secondary market, but I just find her so versatile with a lot of uses, and McFarlane really hit it spot on with the way she looked in the comics, with the added articulation that was missing from the DC Direct and the Mattel versions. She has really grown on me over the years, and I've come to find that now she is very fun to pose and do displays and pictures alongside either version of Batman from The Dark Knight Returns. Now, going into a more modern age, I really thought about which Batman I wanted to use, and I ended up using my custom Hush black and gray Batman that I made by using Batman from the two pack with Hush that, had the notorious wrong colored elbow pins and a repainted, swapped out head from the blue and gray version. All of this made possible by buying the multiples of this figure and also with customizing being something that really I do enjoy doing, have made various versions of the Hush Batman. Now, for me, this is really a definitive look for that more built, deadly version of Batman in the modern times. So, to change it up, I do like adding Damian Wayne, which is another one of my favorite characters, but a lot of people don't like. He is one of my favorites, mostly because people see him as being a little jerk or rubbing people the wrong way. And that is something I definitely identify with. Now, this Damian Wayne is rather special to me because it is a custom Damian. Now, I did make him by mixing the original release with the vampire release by McFarlane, the gold label, getting the best of both worlds, the double jointed knees, the double jointed elbows, the alternate hands and the different cloak. All of these ingredients coming together and making my ultimate version of Damian Wayne. Now, I think I did make a video on this one. Not sure, but you can go back and look at the different videos on the channel. Now, a little bit controversial because, of course, they do have a rocky relationship. Damian and Batman, sometimes don't get along, sometimes do, which of course is understandable the way Damian was raised. Very tumultuous relationship, but never forget Damian is the real heir apparent to Bruce Wayne, and eventually he will become a very devastating Dark Knight. Now, another thing I did do with this custom Hush Batman is I did add articulation. He is notorious for being very stiff, especially at the midsection. But once again, I did do some added articulation to get better posing and crunchability, which is something I am becoming very efficient at. Now, I will be working also on a video where I take a whole figure and show you guys the added articulation that I do to make the figure a little bit more pliable and bendable for your articulated needs. So I'll be working on that video as well. Now, next up, I did want to throw these guys in there. Reason being because you cannot overstep or look past the evolving characters, the way they change over time. So you did have the new era dynamic duo with Dick Grayson as Batman and Damian finally, settling down a little bit and becoming a very good Robin in his own right. Now, I know there's been tons of Robins, Tim Drake, Jason Todd, but I do not think we've received a very definitive version of Tim Drake's Robin. I do like the last release that we had. Really a very fun figure, although the scaling is a bit off if you want a smaller sized Tim Drake Robin. So wasn't too happy with the previous releases. We're going to have to wait until I get my definitive version of Tim Drake Robin. But for now, this new age duo of Grayson and Damian really took off. A lot of people really latched onto them, especially in the absence of Bruce Wayne in the comics. Now, I also did a double review of these guys together. Really had a lot of fun with the Dick Grayson. And this Damian Wayne is awesome. The cloak with the hood that makes it so interchangeable from unhooded to hooded really changed the game with these figures. Aside from the limited articulation on the Damian, the look is there. And doing figure photography with these guys is awesome. Now, I know there's a platinum version of the Dick Grayson, which is blue and gray, which matches a little bit more from the comics. But either way, either setup you have, this is a great dynamic duo for the new age. Definitely don't look over this combination. Finally, now I am going to bring these out just to show how different it is now in the future to have a completely different take on Batman. And of course, you have to have your equally evil Robin Crow. Now, this is going to be the Batman Who Laughs and the Robin Crow from the Dark Knight Metals. Definitely a pretty popular storyline. Has lost a little bit of steam recently. I mean, you don't hear about the Batman Who Laughs as much as you did at first. I do have a feeling like that has to do with the way they finished off the character in the storyline. Really had built up a lot of interest and steam, where I kind of think it fizzled out at the end. Now, a big misconception by a lot of people is that this is the Joker as Batman or something like that, but this is definitely not the case. This is Bruce Wayne as a sickened, demented version of Batman, which in all actuality is very dangerous, super smart, super evil, a little bit of an emaciated physique because He doesn't, keep up the Batman training regimen. He's, crazy. So what does he have to do all that for when he is a more sinister version of Batman, using that nth metal technology and, of course, portals into other worlds and dimensions? This is definitely a different version of Batman to keep your eye on. Now, eventually, they had to introduce his own version of Robin, which, of course, is the Robin Crows. Now, these were released in the first years of the line, so they were a little bit difficult to collect. They did make it to where each Robin Crow came with a build a figure part for Merciless, but each one had a different alternate head sculpt. Now, in the end, this was pretty much originally one of the first army builders from McFarlane, which is another video that I'm working on talking about army building with McFarlane's DC Multiverse. So eventually, I did get a lot of these. I think I have 9, 3 of each head sculpt, just because I'm sick like that and I wanted to army build it. Now, if you really want to see an army build of the Robin Crows, go check out D Hunter because he is the master of army building. And I know he bought tons of these Robin Crows. Now, one of the things I really enjoy about this Robin Crow is the way they did the classic Robin costume, but in a more, demented dark look. The boots and the gloves have a creepy feel to them. And the attention to detail. The first run of McFarlane figures all having a lot of original sculpt work really makes this a standout of Robin figures, but in the end makes for a very contrasting look between the classic old school style of Batman and Robin and a new, darker nightmare version, which is the Batman Who Laughs and the Robin Crow. So, anyways, guys, really fun, really involved video that I had to do to make this one. But I will be working on some more stuff coming up here pretty soon, as well as the end of the year top 20 list. But as always, you guys keep hunting out there, keep collecting, keep customizing, and I will see you on the next
They used to call me Crazy Joe, but now they can call me Batman.